Hey you guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to talk to you about my adventure yesterday. It was so exciting. I went hunting for squishmallows. Crazy, right? So before I start talking about yesterday, I would just like to touch on the subject a little bit of the Facebook pages and the amount of negativity and the complaints on the pages. I'm really bummed out by that, and a lot of other people are too. I would just like to say that when you don't get the squish that you want, I know that it's disappointing and it is a real bummer, but it's not anybody else's fault, if you will. And I understand wanting to talk about it and get some opinion on it and whatnot, but I think people are kind of missing the fact that somebody else did get that squishmallow and somebody else is going to enjoy that squishmallow. And the hunt has become incredibly difficult. I remember last Easter, I went in multiple separate times and I got whichever one I wanted. It wasn't a big deal. And it was throughout the course of a month, where now it's like everyone's hunting the whole month before, waiting for these mallows. So things have changed. It is getting more difficult to find the ones that we're looking for, but I don't think bashing other people and constantly complaining about it is really worth it. I know for me, hunting has taken a change and I'm a lot more invested in it than I used to be. And it is kind of a shift change where it's okay, well, we're not just kind of going in and finding them. It's we're hunting, we're showing up early, other people, it's weird. And so I know it's weird and I wish the best of luck to you guys. Collecting and hunting is its own sport. It's really nuts. So I think just try to keep in mind that somebody else is getting that squish and they're enjoying it, and hopefully you get the next one, but it's not a luck thing anymore. It's kind of like a dedication and full-on commitment. So with that being said, I would like to talk about yesterday. So I really wanted the 4 squish from Cracker Barrel. And I went down to Oregon last week to visit my sister, and she lives in Mount Hood. So on my way back, I stopped at Cracker Barrel, and it was unfortunate that I stopped on the way back instead of the way there, because she told me that they had just sold out the day before or something. So I was really bummed about that. I was like, okay, but she told me they were getting another shipment, and I was like, all right, excellent. So I was calling all week. I was telling her I was going to be driving down from Seattle area, and they were super nice. I mean, you could definitely tell there was some irritation, if you will, oh, these squishmallows, why is everyone going so nuts? But they were really nice. And so I continued to call, and then she told me on Wednesday that they'd be putting them out. So I was planning to drive down on Wednesday with my sister and her family. And we called when we left, and they're like, oh no, the truck got delayed. We're not going to be getting it today, but it should be tomorrow. So plans changed, and that's fine. And I ended up having to go down by myself because Wednesday was the only day that she was available. Oh, that was Thursday. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, sorry. So I ended up having to go down by myself, which was totally fine. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. I left my house at 4 o'clock. I drove 3 hours to get down there. I got there 6:45. Yeah, 6:45, and then I really had to pee, so I went over to the Fred Meyer across the street. I came back. I sat in my car for a half an hour. I knew I was really early. The lady had told me to show up around 8 o'clock. And so I was sitting in my car, and I wasn't going to walk up there until 8 o'clock. I had called a couple times just to kind of check in, but no one was answering. So I was going to walk over and sit down at 8 o'clock, and I was like, I'm already here. I brought things to do. I brought my journal. I brought my Nintendo Switch. I brought a blanket. I brought, a ton of clothes. I think I was wearing 4 or 5 layers because it's first thing in the morning and I'm just sitting outside waiting for these squishmallows. And so I went over, it was like 7:40, 7:45, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go now. I'm just gonna go up there now. What's wrong with it? I'm sitting in my car anyway. I might as well just be sitting in front of the store. Anyway, so it's probably like 5 till at this point. It was around 5 till 8 o'clock, and I'd been sitting out there for a while, so it was already cold. And this group comes up, and it's like the mom and like 2 or 3 kids. And then this old man comes up, older gentleman, comes up behind them. And right when all these people walked up, the manager is coming out to unlock the door for, or like let some employees in. This lady saw me, swoops and just goes straight to the manager and just starts talking to him. Oh, we're looking for these squishmallows, da 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 da. And I was like, what? Like, you see me sitting here. What else could I be sitting here for? Like, I'm not dumb. I know y'all were walking up for the squishmallows too, but how disrespectful to just cut. I thought that was awful. And then the old man kind of just like, after they had talked, the older gentleman, I'm sorry, I'm gonna clean it up. He like starts talking to the manager, and he's like, yeah, I'm here for the squishmallow too, da 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 da. And so I just stayed sitting, like I was just letting these people like do their thing. And then the employee looks at me and he's like, and what are you here for? And I was like, oh, I'm also here for the squishmallows. I was like, and I was here first. You know, I don't know how that works. You know, obviously the store clerks don't really care about something like that, I'm sure. But I think as a fellow Squishmallow hunter and a human being, it's just nice to leave things in order and not cut people and just, I don't know, it wasn't sitting well with me. So the manager was really nice, and I kind of told him, I was like, I'm in no rush. Like, I brought plenty of stuff to do. If you guys don't even open the boxes until 12, because all the stuff was in the back still, and they were unpacking the truck and everything. I just told him, I was like, I have nowhere to be. Like, this is what I'm doing today. So he was so sweet, and he was like, do you guys want coffee while you're waiting? Because they didn't open till 9, so we had another hour to be sitting outside. So the group leaves, the mom and the kids, and they leave because they had stuff to do, school, something, I don't know for sure. And the older gentleman like comes over and walks next, like kind of stands like across the sidewalk from me. So he's pretty close, and he looks at me and he goes, good thing I was here first. And I was like, yeah, after I was. You know, like not really sure what to say, like what this guy's getting at when he's saying stuff like that to me. And so he was like, oh, haha, yeah. And then I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't think that the conversation and the things that he was saying were very nice. But basically he kept hinting at like, oh, you know, there's another Cracker Barrel down the street, and just like slipping in these really like not very nice things. And he would like kind of walk around and go over by the door, and he's like, I need to be closer to the door because I'm going in first, and like saying this weird stuff to me, stuff I would really not expect from an older retired vet. Like, I don't know. But then he kept talking to me, and he's like, oh, trying to like get to know me and all this stuff. And I don't know, it was really weird. And at one point he said something about like having to rush in and we'll see who gets what first. And I just said, you know, I was here first, and I'm really only planning on buying one for myself, which means that there's enough for you too. So, you know, and we don't have to take the fun out of this. Like, it doesn't have to be this ugly. So we waited, and then around 9 o'clock, it was 10 till, I grabbed my stuff and I stood up, and I went and stood right on the edge of the door where I belonged. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but the feelings were weird. It was just kind of like, oh my gosh, now this is competitive instead of like, we're the only two people here, let's root each other on and, you know, like have an experience. And so we get inside, like the manager lets us inside after they open, and they still hadn't pulled him out of the back, but this guy, he's like frantically racing all around the store, and I just went and stood by the counter, you know, like trying to be respectful and just kind of wait and see what was going on. And I think it was the manager, the employee working there, he was keeping us updated. He's like, we haven't pulled him out yet, they're still looking for it. You know, he was amazing, he was so nice. And finally he told us, he was like, okay, they're gonna pull him out now, they're gonna bring him out, we found him. And so I go and I stand over by the back door, and the man, the older gentleman, follows me, and we're kind of standing there waiting, and he grabs this plastic avocado toy off the shelf, and he looks at me and he goes, you sure you don't want this instead? And I was like, do you? You know, like, it was just really weird. And he had told me that he was hunting for his granddaughter, and I had told him that I came down from Seattle area. Like, I had driven 3 hours there, and I had a 3-hour drive home. And after he says this thing about the avocado, he goes, I just thought it would be funny if you had to drive all the way back to Seattle with this instead of what you came here to get. I was like, just beside myself that this man is saying these things to me, like, for no reason. I was so nice and calm and compassionate and kind to him, and it was just like shot after shot after shot, and he was just so snarky. So, and he kept trying to cut me off, and it was so but so finally they bring the Squishmallows out, and they go over to the counter, and so he like bolts, and I stepped in front of him, and I was like, you know, like, this isn't right. Like, I'm gonna get what I came here for. That's just the way that I see it. And so I went up. The first thing I did was grab one lamb, the 2 bunnies, and the chick, and I handed him to him, and I was like, here you go. Like, he got his hands on him first. Are we done? Like, I'm just not having a good time with you. So I bought my Squishmallows. So exciting. They had it, and it was just such a successful trip in that way for me. So happy. But I mean, not with no effort. Like, you know, it was like this huge sense of relief when it finally happened, and I was like, oh, this is why we do this. But so I got my Squishmallows, and I said thank you so much to the associate working, and then I asked her to thank the manager because he was so incredibly awesome. And I was like, you know, I should say bye to this older gentleman. Like, we had conversation for a while. I feel like, you know, we got to know each other on some sense, some level. And even though I didn't like his behavior and the way that he was treating me, I was like, I think it's the right thing to do. So I go over and I just, hey, it was nice chatting with you. You know, I hope you have a great day. And he's like, So I left, and I left that all behind. Like, whatever. I'm going to share this story with you guys now because I don't want people like that to ruin it for you. And I don't think that they should. And I left that situation feeling good about myself because even though he was treating me the way that he was, I didn't let myself slip. I didn't rebuttal. I didn't, you know, it just, I feel like I handled it as well as I could have. And I didn't get snarky back at him. It just wasn't worth it. So, and I got what I was going down there for. I did. So I'm happy. It's amazing. Do you guys want to see? Okay. So, of course, Sophie was the main point. She was the one I drove 3 hours for. The freak out, whatever. I didn't really freak out, but I did hunt a little bit harder, and this is absolutely the hardest I've hunted for any squish so far. So here she is. I'm literally so happy. I had her on my steering wheel the whole way home. Then I took her places with me after we got home, and she fits in there just perfect, and she's just so cute. I love the Sherpa on the outside. I can't get over her little heart face, and then she's got like the heart nose. I love her. I love her. I want everyone to have one of her too. I really do. She's really cute. And then we also have the chick. This is Amy. So I love her as well with her little fro-do. I guess it's like what, like a mohawk or something? Something. And then we got our 2 bunnies. This is Bubbles. And this is Bobby. And they're a squad pack. They all go together. You can see right on this cue there. So yeah, so it was, I mean, I was ecstatic when I left. It was so exciting. I think I was talking to my sister. She's hunted and collected and stuff before, and she's definitely like gone through stuff like, you know, like the hardcore waiting outside, like having to compete with other people and whatnot. And she was really, that was my first time doing it, and she was really rooting me on. And I had anxiety literally the entire drive down there. The entire hour and 15 minutes I was sitting outside, and then the extra half an hour when we were waiting for the Squishmallows to come out. My armpits were sweating all day. It was awful. But that's anxiety, and it's just like the thrill of not knowing if you're going to get it or not. I mean, you're putting in all this work. You're investing so much into a pillow. It's like, you don't know. And I did try to prep myself for both ways. Like, you might get her today, you might not. And I was willing to put in the effort, even with the idea that I might not get her. And I think that that's something really important that people should remember, is it's not a guarantee. Even though I was calling all week long, she gave me the correct time and things like that. I got there early because she said 8, and I still got there early because I wanted to invest my time, and really, I really wanted her, you know? So putting in the work at this point is kind of necessary, and I don't know if I'll go another 3. I drove what 6 hours just for her there and back. I don't know. I guess it really depends, because I probably, you know, a month ago would say, no, I wouldn't do that for a Squishmallow. But, I mean, here I am. I know, unpredictable. So don't let that negativity affect you guys in any way. Things happen like that, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's hard work. And those are important things to just remember. And I want all of you guys to have all the Squishmallows that you want. And I love sharing, and I think that it's just exciting. People need to remember this is something fun. We don't have to stress about it or anything like that. And when we do, figure out why we're doing it and why you're investing and what is important about it to you. So thank you so much for listening to my story, you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you again.